Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be doing some neurographic art. It is a therapeutic, meditative drawing technique developed in 2014 by a Russian psychologist. His name was Pavel Piskarev, and I probably mispronounced that. This type of art uses organic, free-form lines to reduce stress and anxiety. What you are going to do is take a marker and go all around your page, not worrying about where your line goes. If it runs into other lines, perfect. The lines are your choice, but they often look like neural pathways. Once you get the lines done, you can make any circles anywhere to create more intersections. The next step is to round all the intersections, rounding all the sharp edges to create a soft, interconnected web. The effect almost makes the lines look like they're made of liquid or even like a spider web. You're just continuing with all the intersections. And again, this work ends up being almost something that you don't even need to think about. And that goes back to the process of neurographic art where you kind of get lost in it, not even thinking about what you're doing. Next, what we're going to do is just going to tighten up these lines a little bit. And usually that means you're going to thicken them up a lot. So any random edges, any random lines, you're just going to cover those up, make all the lines look a little cleaner, and strengthen them up a little bit. Feel free to turn your page as you need to get that stroke a little bit easier done with your hand. You can also add any lines if you'd like, but again, remember to round all those intersections and thicken up the lines if needed. Okay, now we're ready to add some color. For this demonstration, I'll use three types of mediums. First, I'm going to do a crayon. And with crayons, of course, you could always just color it solid. Getting solid, nice color is really great to do from crayons. So my first example is just coloring one of the sections, just a darker blue. Next, if you'd like to blend, here's my little tutorial on that. Start coloring, and then as you get to a part where you want to switch to colors, lighten up your pressure. And then you can take your next color and color pretty much right on top of it. Again, you're picking up your crayon a little bit to lighten up the pressure so it's not as dark when you get close to blending the other colors. So that's a nice little gradient there. Let's try again. Start with purple this time. Again, coloring real hard. Look how I'm spacing out the color, and I'm also lightening up the pressure from my hand. Then I take the next color. You can color pretty much right on top of your last color. And then when you get to the part where there's only white, then you can really push down hard. But then I'm going to fade one more color. I'll do orange. And again, hard pressure where there's only white. But then when I run into the next color, lighten up a little bit, then you're able to blend it. You can always touch up if needed. So I'm done with the crayons. Next on the color pencil. Crayons sometimes don't blend as well since they are made of wax. Sometimes they don't blend, but color pencils, they blend really, really well. But again, look how I'm coloring full throttle. And then I lighten up not only the pressure, but the space between my strokes. And then with the next color, I'm running right into the previous, lightening it up when I get to the white, and then blending as well. Again, you could use your white color pencil on top of the other colors, and that sometimes makes it look a little smoother. Here's another example. Start with yellow this time. I usually go from top to bottom, but sometimes you can go bottom to top. Change your paper up if you need. Nice little yellow to green fade right there. Again, the layers and layers on top of each other always help with the lots of color that you can have. All right, next is watercolor. I got my cup, got my palette, got my brush, and I need a SpongeBob. All right, so I've already sprayed down my watercolor, so I'm going to start with my first color, this dark green, and it's the same process, just with a different medium. Remember, medium means supplies when it comes to art. So I'm painting as much as I want, and then again, lightening up. You see how there's less dark green towards the middle? And then I go to my next color, yellow, or I'm sorry, light green. And I'm just going to go right on top of that. Watercolors are excellent at blending. So then, yellow to round it out. When you're doing yours, I'd like you to have not a lot of similar colors right next to each other in your piece. I've got yellow right next to yellow. Probably should have rethought that. All right, here comes red. Again, look how I kind of line it up. When I get to the white, then I can go to the orange, orange right on top. When you're running out of pigment in your brush, you can almost kind of use a more sporadic style. And then when you go to your next color, you can go right on top of that, and it blends real nice. Again, rinse out the brush, X on SpongeBob, then I'm ready for my next color. All right, I've got a pretty hard line in that yellow and green right there. So once I finish this green, then I can go just with a brush, just a clean brush. I didn't get any pigment out of the palette. Just a clean brush, I can go right on top of that line, and a couple little swirls will cause that to blend. All right, I'm back here. I've finished a lot more of my neurographic art here. I did some watercolor here, some marker, more watercolor. This one I really took a risk with blending blue to red. Adds a little natural purple in there, and then red to green, which red and green are complementary or opposite colors, so that was a little tougher blend. But came through here with some watercolor. I got crayon here. You can get some nice blending with even crayons. Nice solid color pencil here. I believe this, yep, that's crayon, color pencil here. So I didn't put it in the original video, but I wanted to put some in here because I wanted to show you how to blend with marker, okay? Now, with marker blending, it's a little bit more difficult because you don't get as much of a true blend, but you can still do it with marker. So taking a lighter color with yellow is probably going to be your easiest, like yellow. But again, it's the same process as we used before, spacing it out more and then going to a color that is next to it. Okay, so I'll take my orange and blend right on top of that yellow. When the marker ink is still a little wet, that of course is a little better for you. But when you go over the lighter color, you're just spacing out your strokes a little bit more so it blends a little bit more. And even go right on back on top and blend a little bit more with my yellow. So there you go. Now I'll go from dark to light. I'll do this little shape right here. I'll start with red over here. Okay, all finished. As you can see with mine, I used all kinds of different mediums, but I also experimented with kind of going crazy with the marker over here. I've got, again, crayon, marker, color pencil, marker, watercolor, all kinds of stuff in here. As you can see, I've got solid colored shapes, but I've also got lots of them where I blended. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this project. As always, sign the bottom and enjoy.